I welcome you, learners, to this session of e-learning on the topic transcription. This topic is in the subject of biochemistry. It is being presented by Dr. Preeti Padmanabhan. Transcription, as we know, is the formation of RNA, ribonucleic acid, from the DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid. What is the specific learning objective of this topic? At the end of this topic, the phase 1 learner will be able to understand the process of transcription. Further, list the events during post-transcriptional processing, the events which occur after transcription, post-transcription, and name some inhibitors of transcription also in prokaryotes and eukaryotes, as well as mention the significance of reverse transcriptase enzyme. Transcription, as I just mentioned, is the formation of ribonucleic acid from deoxyribonucleic acid. The double-stranded deoxyribonucleic acid, one of the strands, forms the template for the formation of a single-stranded ribonucleic acid. Either of the two strands of the double helix structure may form a template or a photocopy for the formation of the new strand of ribonucleic acid or RNA. Now, DNA replication is a process which occurs only at the time of cell division, but transcription is taking place all the time. So, the process of formation of RNA has no distinct timing. It takes place all the time in the cell. At a given time, the amount of RNA under standard conditions, under standard specified condition at a given time, the amount of RNA in a particular cell, if a note is taken of that, the amount is referred to as transcriptosome. The total amount of RNA at a particular time, at a particular juncture, if it is taken into consideration under standard specified condition, that particular RNA, the total RNA is referred to as transcriptosome. The process of formation of RNA from DNA is known as transcription. Now, only selected regions of the DNA are taking part in the formation of RNA. It is like taking the Xerox copy of the complete book. If you take the Xerox copy of the complete book, it is like DNA replication. The entire book is being replicated, the entire genome is being replicated. But if you are taking only selected chapters, if you are Xeroxing only selected chapters of that particular book, it is like transcription. Only selected genes or selected areas are being copied in the formation of RNA formation. So transcription is a selective process, unlike DNA replication. Genetic information of DNA is transcribed or copied initially to form messenger RNA or mRNA. During transcription, what happens? The message or the genetic information in the DNA is copied into the ribonucleotides, the four-letter language of ribonucleotides. Which are the ribonucleotides? The ribonucleotides of adenine, guanine, uracil, and cytosine. mRNA from the nucleus. Initially, when mRNA is formed, it is formed in a precursor form. It is called as heterogeneous RNA or hnRNA, heterogeneous nuclear RNA, and it is confined to the nucleus, and it undergoes a process called as, which we'll be discussing later, splicing, and then this mRNA or the primary transcript then reaches the cytoplasm where it is translated. Now, what is translated? Translated into functional protein. it is undergoing the process of protein biosynthesis on the ribosome. So ribosomes are the cell organelles on which the process of protein biosynthesis occurs, or the process of translation occurs. So protein biosynthesis or translation, during that what happens? The nucleotide language on the RNA, mRNA, which is taken in the form of triplets. We'll be studying it under translation in detail. The codons present on the mRNA, codons are nothing but the nucleotide taken in triplet forms, 3 at a time. And it is translated to the language of amino acid. There are 20 amino acids known, so 20 letter language. Each amino acid is depicted by an alphabet. It is taken into consideration. So during transcription, which we are going to study today, what is happening is DNA is converted to RNA, as simple as that. And later on, we'll be studying translation. Today, we'll confine ourselves to transcription. Now, this is a very important diagram. This is showing the central dogma of molecular biology. Now, the central dogma of molecular biology is nothing but the molecular pathway or the genetic molecular pathway as formulated by the scientist Francis Crick, which outlines the flow of genetic information from DNA to RNA and finally to proteins. But it is not as simple as that. DNA may form DNA, right, by the process of DNA replication. So there is a process of replication within itself. So DNA on replication forms two daughter DNAs for the two daughter cells. So that is one possibility. So DNA replication is one possibility. So it is not shown in the diagram, but DNA replication is one possibility of the molecular pathway, or it may undergo transcription to form mRNA, and mRNA from the nucleus, it traverses through the nuclear membrane into the cytoplasm, and then mRNA may undergo translation or protein biosynthesis to form the new protein, which is synthesized on the ribosomal complex in the cytoplasm. Now there is another possibility. This is the central dogma. Now the other possibility is that RNA may form DNA, and that is where the role of reverse transcriptase comes. So reverse transcriptase is the enzyme wherein RNA is converted by the enzyme to a double-stranded DNA. We'll come to that later on. So central dogma of molecular biology, wherein you have to explain along with the diagram in a flowchart form that DNA is capable of DNA replication, DNA is capable of transcription to form mRNA, and mRNA is capable of forming proteins by the process of translation or protein biosynthesis. Likewise, RNA is also capable, we can show an arrow with reverse transcriptase to form DNA, back to DNA. Now, what are the types of cellular RNA? Messenger RNA or mRNA, heterogeneous nuclear RNA or hnRNA, transfer RNA or tRNA, ribosomal RNA or rRNA, and small nuclear RNA, which help in the process of splicing of RNA. What is the process of splicing of RNA? When heterogeneous nuclear RNA is converted to messenger RNA, the intervening sequences or the introns are removed, and the valid sequences or the relevant sequences or the exons are joined together. That process is carried out with the help of small nuclear RNA. Now over here, the small nuclear RNA, they function something like ribozymes, wherein the enzymatic activity or the catalytic activity of RNA is playing a role. Then regarding messenger RNA, I already told you it is the carrier for the codons of the genetic information in the formation of protein. Transfer RNA carries the anticodon. It also helps in the recognition of the enzyme required for protein biosynthesis, as well as it is required for carrying the anticodon which pairs with the codon on the messenger RNA. Then ribosomal RNA, it is the RNA which helps with the catalytic mechanism of protein biosynthesis along with the ribosomes in the process of translation or protein biosynthesis. Now, as I mentioned, the genes for the transcription may be present on the 3' 5' DNA or on the 5' 3' strand of the DNA. Either of the strands can be used for the process of transcription. But remember, even if the 5' 3' strand is used or the 3' 5' strand of the DNA is used, the direction of transcription, the formation of the new mRNA will always take place in the 5' 3' direction as seen in the figure. So the genes may be present on any of the strand of DNA, but transcription will occur only in the 5' 3' direction of the in the direct of that of the template. Now, for the process of transcription occurs in three steps. The first step is called initiation, second elongation, and third termination. The enzyme required for transcription process is called as DNA dependent RNA polymerase or simply RNA polymerase. Now, this RNA polymerase, for the process of initiation to take place, it has to attach to the DNA strand. Now, the region where it attaches to the DNA strand are defined by the promoter sequences on the DNA. In the case of prokaryotes, there are two such sequences. Similarly, in the case of eukaryotes, there are certain sequences on the DNA wherein the RNA polymerase attaches for the process of transcription. These points or these regions rather are called as promoters. We'll come to the promoters in detail. Now, regarding RNA polymerase, the entire core enzyme, the main enzyme, it consists of 2 alpha, a beta, 1 beta dash, and 1 omega subunit. So 2 alpha, 1 beta prime or beta dash, and omega subunit. Now this is the core enzyme. Apart from it, attached to it is also a region called as a part of the RNA polymerase. That subunit is called as the sigma subunit. So apart from the 2 alpha, beta dash and omega, there is the sigma subunit. It is the sigma subunit which helps to recognize the promoters in prokaryotes as well as eukaryotes. So initially what happens is the RNA polymerase attaches at the promoter region on the DNA. Now, once the RNA polymerase is attached to the promoter region, the initiation site or the start site of transcription is defined. And the RNA polymerase slowly starts moving towards the start site, and the first ribonucleotide, which is usually a purine, is added at the initiation step. And the RNA polymerase, especially the core enzyme, the sigma unit is required just for recognition of the start site. Then the core enzyme. What does the core enzyme of RNA consist of? 2 alpha, beta dash, and omega. The core enzyme and the sigma unit initially moves for 10 ribonucleotides till the first 10 ribonucleotides are attached. They move along the the ribonucleotides are attached complementary to the template strand. After that, the sigma unit dissociates from the mRNA and the further process of transcription is continued. Only the sigma unit dissociates and the further process of transcription, that is elongation, is continued by the RNA polymerase till termination. And termination in transcription is defined by the Rho factor. Rho factor defines the transcription termination, and it may be rho factor dependent, that is depending upon the rho factor, or independent upon the rho factor. Now regarding DNA replication, if you remember, the termination was very simple. It was when it reaches the termination site or the terminus sequence, it termination resulted in termination of DNA replication resulted. But over here it is dependent upon rho factor, wherein RNA polymerase may be dependent upon rho factor for the termination, or it may be independent upon the rho factor. I just mentioned to you, in DNA replication, the DNA polymerase was dependent upon the terminal sequences, termination sequences on the DNA. Over here, it's dependent upon a protein factor called as Rho, RHO. Now, types of RNA polymerase. RNA polymerase, I told you, is also known as DNA dependent RNA polymerase. RNA polymerase type 2 or B type is synthesizing what? mRNA. It is inhibited by amanitin. It is a protein extracted from the mushroom toxin. It's a mushroom toxin extracted from the poisonous mushroom Amanita phyloides. Okay, Amanita is the genus and phyloides is the species. So it is extracted from this mushroom toxin. If it is inhibited, if this enzyme is inhibited by the mushroom toxin, then you understand that transcription will come to a stop, especially of the mRNA. RNA polymerase 2, it synthesizes which RNA? The messenger RNA. So that type of transcription will be inhibited by amanitin or mushroom toxin extracted from Amanita phyloides. So that is what happens when you consume poisonous mushrooms. So you have to be very careful when you consume the mushroom. Only the edible mushrooms should be consumed. That is the reason. Then RNA polymerase type 1 or A synthesizes ribosomal RNA. It is not inhibited by amanitin. Okay, and then RNA polymerase type 3 or C leads to the production of transfer RNA. It is insensitive to amanitin. Amanitin being the mushroom poison, sorry. Now the process of transcription in prokaryotes is simpler as compared to eukaryotes. In eukaryotes, the promoters are required just as in prokaryotes, but other factors such as transcription factors, which are mainly protein in nature, are also additionally required. Apart from the processes I mentioned, three steps I mentioned, the transcription factors, numerous number of them, play a role in eukaryotes. Now, regarding the promoters in prokaryotes and eukaryotes, when the RNA polymerase attaches to the DNA, the first promoter in prokaryotes is known as the TAAT. That is the TATA box in prokaryotes. It is called as the TATA box in prokaryotes. And the other promoter in prokaryotes is called as Pribnow box. Another promoter is called as Pribnow box. Now regarding the TATA box in prokaryotes, it is located 10 base pairs upstream of the start site, and the other promoter, which is TTGACA, it is 35 regions upstream of the start site. The TAT-AAT region, or the TATA box as it is called, it is also known as the Pribnow box, and it is 10 base pairs upstream of the start site, whereas the other region, which is the TTGACA, is 35 base pairs upstream of the start site in prokaryotes. Now in eukaryotes, there is a similar region rich in adenine and thymine base pairs. It is called as Goldberg-Hugenus box in eukaryotes. And this also acts as a promoter, first promoter in case of eukaryotes, Goldberg-Hugenus box, along with another region which is about 25 nucleotides upstream, and it is called as the CAAT box. So Goldberg-Hugenus box and CAAT box upstream of the start site in the eukaryotes act as promoters. So which are the promoters in prokaryotes? It is the Pribnow box and the 35 base pair upstream region, that is TTGACA region. And in case of eukaryotes, it is the Goldberg-Hugenus box and the CAAT box. So these are the promoters which initiate the process of transcription. Now in this figure, you can see the process of transcription is occurring, and you can see there is an RNA formed in the 5' 3' direction supposedly, and there is an RNA polymerase, there is a DNA unwinded, and this bubble-like structure which is formed, it is ensuring that transcription is taking place. The entire length of that RNA is formed till the rho factor is met. Now it can be rho factor dependent or rho factor independent transcription. The DNA double helix unwinds partially for transcription process, and then it goes on unwinding till the entire process of transcription is complete. The entire length of mRNA is formed in the 5' 3' direction. This is just a diagram for the initiation of transcription wherein the template DNA strand is being depicted. There is a promoter site which is shown by an arrow. A start site is shown. If you note the new RNA strand, the initial ribonucleotide, the first ribonucleotide which is added is a purine ribonucleotide over here, a guanine, followed by uracil, then an adenine. There is the RNA polymerase enzyme also depicted. So this is the initiation of transcription. The new RNA strand is being synthesized, and the RNA polymerase is the core enzyme is attached to the, it is recognized, it attaches to the promoter site but moves on to the start site to initiate the process of transcription. That is what I would like to emphasize. RNA polymerase initially attaches to the promoter site. It is recognizing the promoter site. Once attached, it moves towards the start site, and from there on, the process of initiation is started. Then elongation process of transcription. I told you the RNA polymerase continues to add 10 ribonucleotides. Then the sigma unit dissociates, and then the core enzyme continues the further process of mRNA strand synthesis. In this diagram too, you can see there is a template DNA strand. The new DNA strand, about 10 nucleotides are added in the 5' 3' direction. The start site remains the same. The RNA polymerase has just moved 10 nucleotides. 10 ribonucleotide formation has taken place complementary to the template strand in the elongation process. And further on, the process of elongation is carried out by the remaining core enzyme. Now, the core enzyme plus the sigma unit, subunit, okay, is called as the holoenzyme. So, up till the 10 ribonucleotides are attached, the holoenzyme, the entire RNA polymerase is acting. But after the 10th ribonucleotide is added, the sigma unit dissociates, and then the core enzyme takes over to add the further ribonucleotides of the mRNA. The mRNA can be very long, not 10 ribonucleotides long. It can be thousands and 2000 base ribonucleotides long. So that process is carried out by the core enzyme of RNA polymerase. One sans meaning less the sigma subunit. Till the first 10 ribonucleotides are added, the sigma unit is attached to the core enzyme, or the holoenzyme of RNA polymerase is playing a role. Then the sigma unit dissociates and further the core enzyme takes over. Now, the termination of transcription. The rho dependent termination. The rho factor is depicted by a triangle in the first figure, the figure above. And once the RNA polymerase comes across this rho factor, which is this rho factor, if it is depending on rho factor for the termination, this rho factor is usually includes Ca rich regions, and it is called as the rho utilization element or RUT. This rho factor, it utilizes the Ca rich regions, and these regions are called as RUT, RUT, or rho utilization elements. The ATP dependent helicase activity means ATP is required for energy, wherein the rho factor will displace the RNA polymerase um, from the structure where the replication is taking place. And once the ATP dependent helicase activity means a helicase enzyme and ATP plays a role, and the rho factor enables the termination of the newly formed mRNA. So that is rho dependent termination of transcription, wherein ATP and helicase, also ATP dependent helicase plays a role, and the rho factor is attached to Ca rich regions or RUT or rho utilization elements on the DNA. Then termination independent of rho factor, wherein the rho factor does not attach. Now, this is dependent upon certain regions on the DNA during transcription. If there are certain palindromic sequences, what do you mean by palindromic sequences? We have dealt it in DNA recombinant technology, wherein palindromic sequences are sequences same in the forward direction as well as backward direction. Just as the word madam, it can be read in the forward direction as well as backward direction. So some base pairs will be the same in the forward as well as backward direction. So this rho independent termination is dependent upon palindromic sequences which are basically rich in GC, yes, right, GC rich regions followed by an AT rich region. So GC rich region followed by AT rich regions, they are called as palindromic sequences on the DNA. So one of the sequences on the template strand will be GC and AT rich sequence. The palindromic sequence will be present on the next strand. So in those regions where GC rich and AT rich regions are present, the rho factor is not required. Thus the RNA complementarily formed due to being rich in AA regions, it will be more rich in U regions. So our hairpin like loop structure is formed naturally. Stem and loop structure is formed. And so with the formation of the hairpin stem and loop like structure, due to the uracil residues at the 3' end of the termination end of the mRNA, they are naturally, it undergoes termination, and it is essential for enabling termination. So this is rho factor independent termination, wherein hairpin-like structures are formed or stem and loop structures of the newly formed RNA is formed on the DNA due to the complementary base pairing, due to the U-rich regions, and slowly it brings about the termination, and it is not dependent upon the factor rho, so it is called rho independent termination. So in short, if you want to give a gist of it, in case of rho factor dependent transcription termination, ATP helicase activity is involved, whereas rho factor independent termination, stem and loop like hairpin structure is involved. So that is the gist of the termination of transcription. So this is another diagram showing the rho independent termination in mammals. Usually in mammals it is rho independent termination. Then this is the transcription process. The entire length of RNA formed is shown in the 5' 3' direction, the direction of synthesis in the transcription bubble, which consists of the region of the DNA double strand which has been separated, unwinded. And you can also see, if you watch carefully, the the left hand side corner wherein the promoter sequence is also shown in red. The promoter sequence is shown in red. So you can depict that in the diagram you draw to. The non-template strand is labeled, the template strand is labeled, the direction of synthesis, the promoter, DNA and RNA strand is labeled. Now, the differences in the transcription process in prokaryotes as well as eukaryotes. Now, in prokaryotes and eukaryotes, it can be depicted in tabular form for ease of depiction. So, site for prokaryotes is the nucleus, eukaryotes to the nucleus. The enzyme is same, DNA dependent RNA polymerase, one type in prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryotes we already had gone through the details. There are three types: type 2 for mRNA, one for type 1 Roman numeral 1 for ribosomal RNA, and type 3 for transfer RNA. Then initiation is when the sigma subunit binds to the promoter site, and in eukaryotes is when the recognition of the promoter site requires transcription factors TATA. Now this TATA is common to both prokaryotes and eukaryotes, except that it is known by two names. In prokaryotes it is known by as the Pribnow box, and in eukaryotes it is called as the Goldberg-Hogness box. Then the termination may be Rho factor dependent or Rho factor independent in prokaryotes. The termination may be Rho factor dependent or independent in eukaryotes, and there may be a lariat-like structure or a hairpin-like structure is formed, and the RNA polymerase dissociates. Post-transcriptional modification, the mRNA formed in prokaryotes does not undergo much changes after transcription. It is um, transferred to the cytoplasm from the nucleus, and it undergoes protein biosynthesis or translation without much modification. Whereas mRNA undergoes several post-transcriptional modifications like the 5-methyl GTP cap which is added, the poly A tail about 50 to 250 which are added at the 3' end. Then splicing may take place wherein I told you the introns are removed and exons are joined in the nucleoplasm it may occur, and the heterogeneous nuclear RNA is converted to mRNA in eukaryotes. So there are several post-transcriptional modifications occurring in eukaryotes. Then action of antibiotics. What are the inhibitors of transcription in prokaryotes? One is actinomycin or mitomycin, sorry, actinomycin and mitomycin, and other is the tuberculosis drug, that is rifampicin. Now what happens? These antibiotics which we use are nothing but acting against the bacteria. But at what process is it is acting? It is acting at a transcription process occurring in the bacteria. So rifampicin, which is a tuberculosis drug, it is acting at the transcription, at which process? At the initiation process of transcription it is acting. Similarly, actinomycin or dactinomycin, it is also an antibiotic which inhibits the prokaryotic transcription. Then in eukaryotes it is inhibited by actinomycin, and of course we already discussed the alpha amanitin or the mushroom toxin. There are post-transcriptional processing or modification like endonuclease, exonuclease, enzyme activity, poly A tailing, which we already mentioned, the 5' capping, the 5' methyl guanosine triphosphate, which is added. Methylation may occur in some of the RNAs. In some cases, methylation may occur, or removal of introns as in splicing. Splicing of the exons or connecting together of the exons may take place. So these are the several post-transcriptional modifications which occur to the RNA after transcription. Now the post-transcriptional modification, if you have to explain one in great detail, or two in great detail. First one is immunoglobulin molecule. Immunoglobulin molecule, especially immunoglobulin M, in the same in lymphocyte may produce two types of immunoglobulin N. One is the secretory type of immunoglobulin M, which has 20 hydrophilic amino acids. So it is secreted out. And then the membrane bound immunoglobulin M, wherein 38 hydrophobic amino acids are attached. So it is anchored to the membrane. So this type of transcription may occur wherein of course immunoglobulin M is the protein finally formed, but it is occurring due to this type of transcriptional post-transcriptional modification, wherein the heterogeneous RNA undergoes the changes to form mRNA, which produces the mRNA, which undergoes translation to give two types of secretory type or membrane bound type of immunoglobulin M. But the main reason for that is the changes with the heterogeneous RNA undergoes during splicing to form mRNA. Get that point? The splicing is responsible for the two types of secretory type or membrane bound immunoglobulin M. Although immunoglobulin M is a protein antibody, the splicing process is responsible for the two types of secretory type or membrane bound immunoglobulin M. Then similarly, apoprotein B48 in the intestine which is formed, and apoprotein B100, which is the apoprotein, a part of protein component of the lipoprotein in the liver. Both these proteins are encoded on the same gene, but the difference is created due to the fact that during transcription, at the end, at the 3' end, there is the CAA, which is the codon for glutamine, is replaced by UAA or the termination codon, and abruptly apoprotein B48 has only 2152 terminal amino acids, whereas apoprotein B100 has 4536 terminal amino acid. So it is longer. The protein is longer in case of apoprotein B100 in the liver than in the intestine, which is shorter. Now this is again happening because at the transcriptional level there is an abrupt termination. Then we come to splicing. It is a mechanism to generate protein diversity. Differential processing can be regulated so that different forms of protein can be produced in different tissues from the same gene. So due to this alternate splicing, different types of proteins can be produced. At the transcription level itself, one can decide which type of protein is the fate of that primary transcript. So the type of primary transcripts may lead to actin, fibronectin, troponin, tropomyosin. Now these all, if you note, are muscle proteins. But whether it will form actin, whether it will form fibronectin or troponin or tropomyosin depends upon alternate splicing. The differential processing of the protein, all are muscle proteins, but the differential processing, whether it will actually form actin, actually form fibronectin or troponin or tropomyosin, or or the myosin, it will all depend upon the process of splicing, and that process, differential process of splicing, is called as alternate splicing. Now aberrant splicing is when it results in mutations at a splice site. Now even if it is resulting in mutation, what will happen? A disease may be caused. This may result in introduction of a stop codon at an abnormal site, or it may result in continuation. Okay. So depending upon that, it produces premature. If it is a stop codon, what happens? If it is a nonsense codon which is introduced, it produces premature termination of the protein. Example, in hemoglobin, if there is premature termination, it may result in thalassemias. mRNA formed and released from the DNA template is known as primary transcript, and it is also known as heteronuclear RNA or heteronuclear mRNA or hnRNA. In the mammalian system, it undergoes extensive processing to become the mature mRNA. and that processing is known as splicing. This processing occurs in the nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm is a region within the nucleus. In the bacteria, the mRNA is not changed much, already mentioned in the process of transcription. And translation of mRNA starts even before the completion of transcription. But post-transcriptional processing in eukaryotes is more elaborate. And the post-transcriptional processing is not only for mRNA but also for tRNA and ribosomal RNA as well in prokaryotes. This is the diagram to depict the splicing process. The exon regions are depicted, exon 1 and exon 2 in red. The introns are regions which are intervening or not required in the primary transcript. So they are removed by the small nuclear ribonuclear proteins or the snRNA. They are also known as SNRPs. So these proteins U1, U2, U4, U5, U6, U7 as they are named, they form a structure known as a hairpin-like structure is formed. All these proteins come together and a loop is formed. A loop is formed, and this loop is called as spliceosome. And slowly this loop is detached from the primary transcript, and you can see the excised intron and the small nuclear ribosomal nuclear proteins are released, or the small nuclear RNAs are removed. These are acting like ribozymes, enzymatic role, wherein they are catalyzing the reaction, increasing the rate of the reaction, itself not undergoing any change. So they are acting like enzymes. So not only proteins are, all proteins are not, all enzymes are not proteins. RNAs can also be enzymes. RNAs may act as enzymes, so they are known as ribozymes. So the SNRPs are nothing but acting like ribozymes. So exon 1 and exon 2 are finally attached and the mature mRNA is formed. Now these ribozymes, a little more on that, they are enzymes made up of RNA. Ribozymes or RNA enzymes are catalytic RNA molecules with sequence-specific cleavage activity. In pre-cellular epoch, the nucleic acids were biological catalysts, and in course of evolution, protein took up this activity. That is a genetic reason provided. In that sense, ribosomes are like vestigial remnants, but they are playing a major role even in protein biosynthesis. Spliceosomes contain ribosomes as well as protein components which serve to stabilize the structure of ribozymes. So they are a combination of proteins as well as the RNA. So the SNRPs are nothing but the combination of proteins and RNA, and they serve as enzymes or ribozymes. Now RNase P is another ribozyme which generates the ends of transfer RNA. Peptidyl transferase is also an example of ribozyme present on ribosomes used for translation or protein biosynthesis. The next topic after transcription, and which we have to study, and is another example of ribozyme. Peptidyl transferase specifically brings about the formation of the peptide bonds or the CONH linkage on the newly formed amino acids on the ribosomes. So that peptidyl transferase enzyme is bringing about that linkage and that bond formation. It is catalyzed by the enzyme peptidyl transferase, which are nothing but ribozymes, which are complexes of ribosome and the RNA and the proteins. Ribosome itself is a combination of RNA and the proteins. And these ribozymes, peptidyl transferase, are catalytic in role, present on the ribosomes. Even after editing, the matured mRNA is 2 or 3 times bigger than the size required for coding for specific sequences. So there are long stretches of untranslated areas are present both at the 3' end and 5' end. These are referred to as non-coding sequences. Non-coding sequences are very much different from introns or intervening sequences. Introns are cleaved out, whereas non-coding sequences are retained in the mature mRNA. Please remember that. Now we come to the action of reverse transcriptase, which we've already discussed. If there is a viral RNA, wherein the RNA is a genomic material in a virus, there is the reverse transcriptase, which has an inherent activity of converting a RNA back to DNA, and what is required is a primer RNA is required for the polymerization by reverse transcriptase. As a result, by the activity of reverse transcriptase, the RNA primer serves as a base on which the RNA DNA hybrid is formed. The DNA is elongated complementary to the RNA. Now this RNA region has to be removed. Similarly, the RNA template has to be removed. So this DNA, for initially the RNA region is removed. The RNA primer region is removed by the enzyme RNase H, which hydrolyzes the RNA. And then the DNA copy of RNA serves as a template, and by the process of DNA replication, in the figure the DNA polymerase 3 enzyme is shown and the double stranded DNA is formed. So this is the action of reverse transcriptase. If you remember, this is the enzyme which is active in the HIV virus, the human immunodeficiency virus, resulting in AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Okay, it is also the reverse transcriptase which is inherent in tobacco mosaic virus in plants, one to mention, and also the Rous sarcoma virus which results in avian sarcoma in the chicken, which is also an RNA virus. Now there are inhibitors of transcription mentioned before, but the action is mentioned in detail. So inhibitors of transcription are actinomycin D. This antibiotic is from the Streptomyces bacteria, and it is a mode of action is insertion of a region called as the phenooxazone ring between the GC base pair of DNA. Once it is inserted, it brings a inhibition to transcription. Then rifampicin, synthetic derivative of rifampicin, binds to the beta subunit of RNA polymerase, which is inactivated. You remember there is a beta subunit for the RNA polymerase of the core enzyme. Then alpha amanitin is a toxin from the mushroom Amanita phyloides. It inactivates the RNA polymerase type 2 in the eukaryotes. Then 3' deoxyadenosine is a synthetic analog, and the incorrect entry into the chain causes abrupt termination. So these are the inhibitors of transcription. Remember, actinomycin D or dactinomycin, then rifampicin, alpha amanitin, and 3' deoxyadenosine. So that brings us to an end of the e-learning session on transcription. I wish you a very, very happy learning. Read up more from the textbook, any number of textbook you can, and thank you so much for your attentive hearing from the beginning to the end. Thank you.